Are you starting to worry that your marriage or your relationship is starting to become sexless? Because you're noticing signs that she's on her side of the bed and you're walking on eggshells trying to figure out if tonight's the night. And then you notice that she's got a lot of moods around the PM time because she's not really wanting to draw into you, and you're like, what the heck's going on? Well, sex and marriage and relationships are it's very important. I mean, the men know how important it is. The women sometimes pull away from it because they get occupied on other things, but it is very important, and we need to address that today. We're going to address it in this video. I'm going to give you some steps today in this video on what to notice and what to do, and give you some tools to follow so that we can start making sex more frequent in your marriage, and then be able to give you the feeling of confidence that you know what to do when she starts showing those signs. Hi, I'm Suzette the Marriage Warrior, and I have helped many couples over at least 18 years now, and empowering men specifically on how to lead the relationship out of these dysfunctional patterns. So if we're looking at sex in a marriage, first of all, you cannot even survive a relationship without sex, because God created us to be sexual beings. And that's why we kind of get off the streets, if you will, in order to get married, so that we are sexually committed to one person. But if the marriage or the relationship's not being sexual anymore, it's going to deplete personal individual needs that God created us all to have. And so what do you do in that situation? Well, unless the couple has individually agreed that we're going to not be sexual in the marriage. And sometimes people do that because of age, or sometimes they do that because of sickness. And if that is going on, then it's a commitment between the two of y'all. Now, if there's no commitment, or there's some kind of silent war of the guessing game of trying to figure out is there a commitment? Because I didn't commit to that. If she's committed to that, I didn't commit to that. There needs to be a conversation between y'all about this subject, because it is not fair for a couple to be in a relationship sexually committed and committed in all the other areas of the relationship, and one partner just fall off the radar sexually, because God created us to be partners and sexual partners as well. And so if you're not careful, the relationship commitment will become a bondage to the partner that wants sex, while the other partner is not wanting sex. So it has to be addressed. And you guys, I want to empower you to stop walking on eggshells and go into the subject matter, press into it instead of pulling away from it and getting very offended, aggravated, all that kind of stuff, and talk about the issue of the sexuality not being frequent enough for you. Now, that will open up a conversation with her, because when she knows that you are wanting more sex, she's going to immediately kind of tell you, oh, you just want sex, or you don't care about me, you don't really love me, you're just using me. And then y'all are bombarded with that, thinking, what the heck? I don't feel those things. I'm just talking about a need I have. But men have to understand that women have a different need than sex. Now, a lot of times I have to teach the women that they are sexual beings as well, and they're robbing themselves as well as you. And so, but it's important that you understand her needs. Men are going to notice there's problems in the relationship when the problem of the sexuality aversion starts to creep in. That's when you guys are going to notice, okay, we got a problem here, Houston. But prior to that, you're just going to feel like she's just nagging, she's just griping all the time, she's always aggravated. That's what you're going to notice first, okay? But you are not going to connect the dots to the fact that she's pulling away from you, because inside cognitively you're thinking she's just mad, or she's had a bad day. She's pulling away from you. So if you want to know what's going on in the bedroom, you need to know what's going on in the relationship emotionally. So if you start a conversation with her about sexuality, sexual frequency, even maybe sexual compatibility. I mean, you might have to talk about the hard stuff of, are we even compatible? Because I need a little bit more spontaneity. She might talk about she needs a little bit more foreplay, but that has to be discussed between the two of y'all and come to a compromise, because you're two grown people. You have to have your express needs met. You have to be able to compromise on what makes it good in the pairing, and then you execute the plan of action. But most people are very shy about talking about these things. And where are you going to talk about sex unless you're talking about it in your relationship? That's the place we're supposed to be talking about sex, rather than talking about it with your buddy, instead of talking about it with your spouse. Your buddy can't fix your problem about your sexuality. Your spouse can. So you have to drive that issue into play between the two of y'all. And you can't be scared of it. And you can't be scared of the fact that she might avoid it, or she might start fussing at you about what you do wrong and all that. Sit down, stop walking away, sit down, and try to address the issues that are complicating the emotional relationship, that then the extension of the provision of sexuality is being scarred at the end of the day. So when a man is not sexually healthy, like in the relationship, like frequency is good, compatibility is good, all the other things in his life will get more complex, because he's not going to have the energy that he needs from basically not only the testosterone release, but the energy that comes from the touching. Okay, because you guys are, in the workplace and not touching a lot of things, and, not having a lot of physical touch. And so you need that. And so the way that you are trying to get it is through the bedroom. And then that gives you an energy, because that intimacy of that physical touch brings down all of your walls. You feel like relieved emotionally. You feel bonded with your marriage, but she doesn't sometimes, okay? She feels used sometimes. And the last thing a guy wants to do is use a woman. It's not your intention. So you have to understand that if she's not feeling emotionally connected to you, where she feels heard, understood, acknowledged, respected, being able to be dated, she's going to feel that you don't even see her. And then you want to go into the bedroom and then everything be bliss, and then you feel good the next day. Now, God provided marriage. He provided relationship connection. He provided intimacy sexually as well. So it's a provision from him. It's a blessing from him. When we understand that it's a blessing and not a curse, some people think, I got to get out of this relationship. It's not a curse. It's real important that you as the leader address this and get this in the right direction, because God gave you guys the power to do this. It's just you don't have the tools. So I would like you, one of the tools is to recognize it first, okay? Notice that, okay, we've got sexual intimacy issues, and if I just ignore her, then I'm going to get more and more frustrated in the workplace. I'm not going to have the relief I need from physical touch. So another tool to use is to be able, once you address it, then to be able to notice you need touch and she needs sex. Because women do need sex, but you need non-sexual touch. So if you start to connect to that need, and then be able to touch her through the day, where she doesn't feel you're going to just push her in the bedroom, because that's why women don't relax when you come up behind them and are kissing on their neck while they're washing dishes. They're like, get off me, get off me. And that insults you guys, because some women don't think men have feelings, but you do. You get hurt and rejected, and you'll blow it off and say, I was just kissing on your, whatever. But if you will teach her that you flirting with her physically during the day, when she's, washing dishes, whatever, it will not lead to sex. That's what you got to really think about. You got to teach her that you don't want sex right then. You need touch, okay? Then as that starts to soften her, because she's feeling like you're not going to push her to the bedroom, she will then start to accept some of those daily touches in the middle of the day. Then her walls are down emotionally with you because she feels connected emotionally and physically. Then it kind of flows into sexual intimacy in the end of the day, or, nooners or whatever. Some of my women, when they all get fixed up, they call their husbands in for nooners. And most of the guys are like, that will never happen. Yes, it will if you start doing some of these efforts. And so when you are first addressing the issue and finding out what her real issues emotionally are with you, you don't ever help me with the kids. You don't ever call me during the day. You don't ever bring me flowers. Whatever those issues are, she's saying you're not seeing her and you're not being provisional to what she's needing, okay? So listen to those things. They're easy things for guys to do, but you just got to remember to do them, okay? So you start doing those things. Then you recognize you need physical touch, step 2, and then you start exerting that during the day to flirt with her and get your physical touch you need so that you're not pushing for that sexual intimacy. Then let it flow, and then before you know it, the sexual intimacy is going to increase. She may even initiate with you because you kind of revved her up through the day, Do not get discouraged if it doesn't work that night, okay? So don't do it with the agenda for it to happen that night, because surprise her. She's expecting that if you're touching her during the day, he wants sex. That's what he wants. So she might give into it later. She might not. I don't like the women to have that much control over the sexuality. That's why I want you to sit down and talk to them about, this is not working for me. Is this working for you? Because this is not going to go on. We've got some issues, etc. And if she avoids doing that, then you need to rethink your relationship, because you have a need that was created by God. You also have a need created by God to lead and solve problems and not walk away from problems. So these are the things I want you to start. And I think you might get some productivity out of it. I'm Suzette the Marriage Warrior. If you want more information, don't forget themarriagewarriorinstitute.com, and we'll talk to you later about more subjects.